Welcome to Podnutz Daily, episode number 166 for April 29th, 2009. Let's get started here. Show times changed. Okay, so last time I'm going to announce this. The show times for the show changed to 6:30. If you don't know that already, if you want to watch Podnutz Daily live, you can do that. Not at 6 anymore, at 6:30. I like it much better. I hope you guys are cool with that. It gives me time to prepare more. And you're going to think I'm crazy if you haven't heard this yet, but I'm doing yet another podcast. This one's a daily one. 12 o'clock a.m., midnight, Eastern Standard Time. Every night, Podnutz at Night will be coming on. I had 2 episodes done this week so far. The show will be called Nuts at Night for short. And check that out. That's mainly a call-in show. You guys could call in. We talk about any type of... It doesn't have to be computer repair. We'll talk about any kinds of tech. Like yesterday, we were talking a little bit about black hacking. You know what I mean? Like hacking wireless networks in a good way. You'll see. You'll have to listen to the episode to see exactly what I'm talking about. We talked about iTunes. We talked about... the episode before that, we talked about netbooks. Yeah, did we talk about netbooks? All kinds of stuff. Anything you guys want to talk about tech-related, let's do it. I love talking tech, so I'd rather be podcasting and talking tech than sitting in front of a TV or something like that. So join me, Podnutz at Night. It's going to be posted every night at podnutz.com. And there's also a Ustream room now for that show. It's ustream.tv/channel/nuts at night. That's nuts with a Z at night. Well, I mentioned on Monday I was going to get with my dad and go over a bunch of stuff that he's doing in the shop because I'm working on my thing. He's working on his thing. So I got a bunch of things that he has actually done throughout the week. So that's going to be included in this week's listing of all the stuff we did at the shop. Starting with an HP desktop that came in, running Windows XP, it actually wasn't fairly new machine. It was a Pentium 4. And the customer wanted to run Calendar Creator 7. Every time we tried to run Calendar Creator 7, I believe the creator is Broderbund of that software. Every time we tried to run Calendar Creator 7, it would say the install log could not be found, and it would just crash. And we tried uninstalling it. I've used Revo Uninstaller to uninstall it. We used the Microsoft Cleanup utility to uninstall it. And we went into the registry, I believe, and we deleted Calendar Creator entries and still wouldn't install. Finally, my dad called the guy and he said, Calendar Creator 7 is from 1990. I think it was from 1999. And the guy said, well, I have Calendar Creator 8. So we go, okay, fine, use that. So that's what he's using now. He had Calendar Creator 8 the whole time. So, here's another problem he was having. A lot of times we'll do a job. We have our KVM switches hooked up to the desktops we do at the shop there, and we're working on these computers. We give the computer back to the customer. They take it home, and they go, my keyboard and the mouse don't work. Almost invariably, it's because they have a USB keyboard and mouse, and we don't use that at the shop. If it has a PS2 connector, we mainly use PS2. If that happens to you guys, they don't need to bring their computer back in. It's a relatively easy fix. Sometimes when they plug in their USB keyboard and mouse, the new hardware wizard will come up and say, what's this new hardware? All you have to do if the hardware wizard comes up automatically, well, let's see. They're going to have to be able to use a keyboard, aren't they? Most of the time they'll have access to a keyboard and not the mouse. If they have a wireless system, they might have a problem with both. But a lot of times the keyboard will work with USB, but the mouse won't. Let's just create that situation for now. So if they still have keyboard access, they can navigate using the keyboard to install the mouse driver. When the hardware wizard comes up, because it might detect the mouse and say unknown device. For the first screen, choose no, not right now, which is the question you're answering, which is should Windows go onto the internet and look for the drivers? You don't want to do that. You hit no, not right now. The next window that pops up will be like, should we automatically search for the drivers on this computer? You hit yes for that. It will find the mouse driver every time. So teach them how to use the arrow keys and the tab key. That's pretty much all they need to do, and maybe the Windows key, and they can navigate through those wizard windows. If the wizard doesn't come up when they plug in a USB mouse, they have to go to the control panel. Now, to get to the control panel using just the keyboard, hit the start button. That gives you your start menu, and the control panel's in there. So you use the arrow keys to navigate to the control panel. You hit enter. Then, once you're in the control panel, you go down to System, you hit Enter. Then you go into the device manager, hit enter, and then you have them use tab and the arrow keys to get down into the list. They're going to see a little yellow exclamation mark. You guys know what it looks like when a driver's not loaded. Tell them to go down to that, hit enter, and then hit enter, and then reinstall driver. Then the wizard will start, and then you just do that same thing I just told you with the wizard. Just don't pick no, not right now for the first window, and then yes, find automatically for the next window, and I'll install the mouse driver. They don't need to download anything. It's Windows XP has it. I don't know why it doesn't automatically find it when they start it up, but it doesn't. But it happened maybe 5 times to us so far where we walked a person through it over the phone. As long as they have their keyboard access, they're okay. Same thing with the mouse. If they only have mouse access and not the keyboard, it's a little easier. Just have them go to the control panel, load that driver for the keyboard by having it search the computer automatically. You're saying I got to raise the camera a little bit. The ads are getting too big on Ustream. Okay. Too high. That's as good as it's going to get right now. Sorry. I had the Dell from hell, I called it today. It's an XPS 400 or 410. I can't remember. It's one of those big white, it might be silver, desktops, Dell desktops. I still don't know what's wrong with this thing, but here are the symptoms. When you start it up, go to, it goes, let's just say, first of all, it starts up, starts to load Windows, and then we get blue screen with unmountable boot volume. Okay, usually when I have unmountable boot volume, I'll run check disk on a hard drive, and then I'll run fixed boot after check disk just for good measure. Fixed boot might fix the problem right off the bat, but I like to run check disk anyway if that's the problem. So we run check disk and run fixed boot. Well, on this computer, we wanted to do that. So I put an Windows XP disk in. I started the computer from the XP CD, and it started to load the drivers in Windows Setup. So it's loading those drivers. It's just the blue screen where it's at the bottom of the screen on the gray bar. All the drivers are rolling through and loading. That gets done. And then you'll notice if you ever installed XP, after all those drivers get loaded, it says at the bottom of the screen, Windows is now starting, or Setup is now starting Windows. And then after that starts, you have to hit F8 to get past the user agreement, and then you got to do a bunch of other things to do whatever you want to do, either install, repair, format, whatever. Well, on this computer, when it says Windows is now starting at the bottom of the screen there, it blue screens a couple seconds after that every time. So we can't even get to the control panel or the recovery console. I'm sorry, can't even get to the recovery console to do anything. So my experience in that, when I had that happen to a computer, was the Ethernet